My name's William Selborne. I farm at Blackmoor estate. We grow arable as well as fruit, so that's apples, pears and cherries. I'm also a member of the Selborne Landscape Partnership, which is a group of 28 farmers around Selborne. Our group has recently launched a wildlife report which we called A New Natural History of Selborne. This being the parish where Gilbert White famously wrote about nature in the 18th century, and I think the second most published book in the English language. We were able to go back to the parish he did his pioneering study in and look at nature today. And while we've lost some things, the encouraging news is that in some respects we have as many bird species now, in fact more than he recorded in his day. So it's not all bad news for nature, particularly when you're collaborating at the landscape scale. As a fruit grower, pollinators are absolutely vital to what we do, to pollinate the trees behind me. We do bring in beehives to pollinate the trees, but we do as much as we can for wild pollinators, whether that be wild bees, bumblebees, mason bees. We put in strips around our orchards to provide habitat either side of fruit blossom to have a healthy population of wild pollinators. In the future, I think the more that we can do to guarantee we've got a healthy population of pollinators in the landscape, the better it is obviously for our business, because it's absolutely critical to have those to grow apples and fruit in future years. So we are looking to put in flower habitat right the way across the farm, and in fact in the landscape more broadly, in order to have a healthy population of pollinators. The Selborne Landscape Partnership, which covers over 5,000 hectares, has mapped all the pollinators in our area. We can then see where the habitat is, as well as where the gaps are that we need to fill in order to provide corridors for pollinators in the landscape. As working together, it's a case of the whole being more than the sum of the parts. However much conservation work you're doing on a single farm, you're only as good as your neighbour. So with neighbours we can achieve something over a much larger scale, at the landscape scale in fact, by filling the gaps. We're very lucky to work in a landscape like this one. This is a great place to have as your day-to-day office. It changes with the seasons, it's always challenging, it's always interesting. We produce food and nature on this farm. The two are very linked. As we've said, we need the pollinators in order to produce our food crops. Our shop floor is the landscape, is nature. The two really cannot be separated. Nature is part and parcel of what we're doing here as farmers at Blackmoor Estate.